This is The Art Show by T-Podcast with your host Milo H.G. Waters. Made with Zencastr, distributed by Anchor. For more information about this week's artist, check the description below. But now, sit back, pop the kettle on, and enjoy the conversation. All right, welcome one and all. It is my pleasure to introduce Amie Jane Brown, fantastic musician, worked with loads of people, got a new EP out, and got something brand new, as yet unreleased, that we're going to play. So, Amie, what is in your teapot?
It must be Tetley. It's got to be Tetley. I'm a northern lass.
Oh, of course. You can't go wrong, can you? Not
Absolutely
Yorkshire, though. Better Tetley.
No, do you know what? I love a bit of Yorkshire. I switch between PG, Yorkshire, and Tetley. And at the moment, I'm really obsessed with those drawspring. I don't know what else is in my teapot, but it's not just tea. The drawstring tea bags. Have you ever discovered those?
No, I have
really
not.
Really cool ones. I'm getting old now, aren't I? I'm getting excited about drawstring tea bags. You kind of there's like a little bit at the top of the tea bag that you pull before the string and then squeeze, so you don't even have to use a spoon.
So it squeezes it for it. That's a revolution in tea bag technology.
It's the lazy man's tea. Yeah, basically, get yourself a drawstring Tetley tea bag and you'll be winning at life.
Fantastic. All right. So we've got something brand new from you here. It's very different to your EP that came out last year, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm trying to think what date it came out. I should know all these details before.
Fine, I'm terrible at keeping up with dates and things. But yeah, so just before we play it, can you just talk us through it a little bit? I've seen you're collaborating with someone on it. Just tell us kind of how you came to this kind of style for it.
Well, these songs were recorded. This particular vocal on the new track was recorded ages and ages ago with a really good friend of mine that I intend to also put on the EP as an acoustic track. And then in the meantime, my brother, my lovely bro, is a producer, and he is constantly saying to me, send me acapellas, and then making me either sound like a chipmunk or one of those. There's like a new trend it's not a new trend, but it's some kind of vocal effect that makes, I call it, what do I call it to him? Like, don't make me sound like the Beast Man. But because of the music that he makes, predominantly kind of dubstep, house, that kind of thing, the vocal style is very much very different from what we're used to listening to acoustic music. Yeah. I'd sent him over this a cappella, and this is what he sent back to me. He'd been kind of messing around, and I just love the vibe, and it's very different to what I would usually release or go for. And it's close to my heart because it's collaborating with my brother. So I'm excited.
Oh, really good. Okay, well, let's give it a listen, and we can get into a bit more. So this is Need You Now.
I can hear the call that's in your voice, and despite the fact that I feel like a stranger, can we pick up where we left off? Can we pretend we never lost? 'Cause all I want is never far from you. Would you come and rescue me tonight? 'Cause I need you now. Pick me up and put me over your shoulder. Pull me close and tell me what you know that I need to hear. Tell me now and don't wait till I get older.
Right, fantastic. So yeah, I mean the vocals sound fantastic. And
Thank you so
did
much.
your brother put all of the instrumental behind it then? Did he do
Yeah,
all of that producing? Yeah. Wow,
that's all
brilliant.
him. He's ace. I mean, I know I'm going to say that because I'm biased, but yeah, he's brilliant at what he does. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to be able to work alongside him.
No, it's great to work with someone that you've got a really close connection with, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've had our ups and downs trying to work together. Believe me. I think if
I'm
this
sure.
successfully gets released, I will eat my hat literally, and I really fancy eating my hat on this one.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, so it said a bit on your website that you're kind of going back to your roots a little bit with this
Mm,
more sort of like drum and bassy kind of vibe, still very sort of
yes,
low tempo. Yeah, so could you tell us a
that's
bit
it.
about sort of how you started out and how this is sort of bringing you back to it?
Coming back. Well, back in the day, I was part of a drum and bass band, a live drum and bass band, and really, drum and bass was the first music, I suppose, that I vocaled. And I had a lot of friends that were drum and bass DJs at college, and yeah, just that is my go-to. Really, I think that is my go-to music. And so really having something that I can just be proud of and put my name to will be great. Like I've never released anything that's really this kind of thing. So yeah, super excited.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So dare I ask when we can expect it, or is that
I have
tricky at the moment?
no idea, but it's on its way. So keep your ears peeled.
All right, absolutely. Okay, so let's jump back then to the EP that came out in 2020. And this was Rose Coloured Spectacles, right?
Yes,
So
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm thinking I'll play the first track off the EP, and then you
Brilliant.
can tell us a bit about it. Yeah.
That sounds good. Yep.
All right, cool.
Oh, I'm in the line of fire, waiting for it to align. Strike the match and make it lighter. Watch the flame ignite. Oh, I'm alone in the picture. No one by my side. Just a click to frame my fears. Flashes in my eyes. In the alarm bell, the sirens play. Going alone, no, I don't need saving. Trouble don't run. It hides. I'm finger click, pull trigger, barrel loaded, a gleam in your eye. No more bullets to fly. Ooh, I'm gonna smile like I'm crazy, 'cause you fools ain't staying alive. When there's a million and one ways to die.
Right, seriously, I fell in love with that the moment I heard it.
Amazing. That's so nice to hear.
Do you know what it put me in the mind of? It put me in the
Yeah.
mind of the coolest James Bond soundtrack I've ever heard. I hope that's that is
That
going to be
is.
taken as a compliment I meant it as.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you. I've had that a few times. Yeah, that's so lovely to hear though when someone just relates to it. And I think it's always one of those things that it wasn't when you make music, you never really you have a plan in your head of what sometimes you have a strong idea in your head of what you want to create. And then actually sometimes it ends up being the complete opposite and you get those kind of happy mistakes. And I think that was what it was. Like sometimes I've got this real picture in my head of how I want it to all come together and all to sound, and then actually it goes down a completely different road, but it turns out to be a good one. So
Yeah. Oh, very
yeah,
cool.
that's
So
awesome. Fun.
how did this one change from where it started? Like what idea did you have in your head for it, and how did it sort of end up
End
as it
up.
did?
Well, do you know what? It was so long ago, and again, I was when I first wrote it, like, it took forever from going to the writing stage to actually recording it, and then working with the amazing producer that then turned it out in the end. but yeah, it was with a friend of mine, and we were trying to write. We were working on kind of a concept, but what we wanted to do was just write out and out kind of pop, happy go lucky kind of bouncy pop.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't really. It turned out a bit darker than than we imagined.
Yeah. I mean, dark. Like, yeah, I get darker. Like from the lyrics and things, but it's definitely got a bounce to it. Like
Yeah,
the whole album does, I think, and the
yeah,
whole
that's
EP
awesome.
rather. And
Yeah,
I don't know. There's this real like fullness to the sound to my ears anyway. Just between
yeah,
the guitar, your great vocals, and the odd uh trumpet, sax, whatever it is
yeah.
that comes in here and there. Like, yeah, and I really appreciate that when you listen to it to something and it just sounds just full, like there's
Mm.
everything there that needs to be, and it sort of goes up and down and things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that the main thing as well is that the producer that I was working with on it, because I initially just took vocals and guitar stems to him, and we were working remotely. The whole thing was just done remotely, which is
Oh,
amazing. And yeah, I think if it wasn't for him, I would be lost really, because he just got all my crazy, like, I mean, I'd send him. He definitely thinks I'm a nutcase, because the way I try and describe things, I go, "Oh, I don't know what I mean by this," and I'd have all these ideas that I wanted to put into the track, but I just didn't know. I was like, "I don't know the lingo. What I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to put across."
I mean, that's
And
me
he just
every
got it.
episode I have a
Yeah.
musician on, to be honest. Desperately
Well,
trying to get the right
yeah, you
lingo.
can't tell. But yeah, just he was awesome, because he said to me, the problem is with these things is sometimes it's like trying to describe a color to somebody. It's just, we all just see so differently. Like, what one thing to one person means is completely different to someone else. So yeah, I think it's important, isn't it, to be able to kind of just get who you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think going back to what you were saying earlier, I think that is what takes things in different directions when you're giving something to someone and they're interpreting it and bouncing something back, and it's that kind of back and forth
Yeah.
where the really good stuff comes out. I think
Mm,
through that kind of
definitely.
collaboration. But how
Yeah,
was it
absolutely.
working remotely for you? Because I've been trying to do some things remotely over lockdown.
Yeah.
It has been so hard.
Hard.
But yeah, how
Yeah.
did you find it?
Well, do you know what? Some things, like you say, have been really good. And I think this whole experience for a lot of people has meant that it's just changed the way we're going to go forward. And um, working remotely on this EP actually happened before any of the pandemic hit, which is
Oh,
mad,
okay.
because yeah, the reason for it was that I was looking for a producer to work with, on the EP, on a few singles at first, and my first idea was that I wanted to just make it a little bit of a mixture. So I wanted to work with actually different producers on each track, and then this guy did such an amazing job. Um, Yoni, I have to shout him out, but he did such an amazing job that I just wanted to continue with him, and also the fact that he just knew that I was absolutely batshit and was like, well, I embrace it. Um, so yeah, I think that for me that was great. He was over in the Netherlands, and we just kind of bounced things back and forth, and actually it worked with our schedule, because obviously we were completely different, doing completely different things, and yeah, for that reason it did work. But there is a lot to be said, I guess, about being in the studio and being in the vibe with
Yeah,
somebody. So there's no way that I would not ever do that again. But
yeah.
I think it's yeah, I think it's
Mm.
it's had its good, it's had its positives, hasn't it? What have
Yeah,
you found
definitely.
hard?
Um, just keeping track of everything coming through email and this, that, the other, and then having conversations over Zoom is just, it feels so different to being in the room, because I've been working on some theatre shows for for my local fringe festival, and
Amazing.
it's I don't know, really tricky that again, what you were saying, like trying to explain something to someone, like in an artistic context, it's like trying to describe colors, and particularly for theatre, when you can't get up and do something, no, I mean like this kind of thing, or whatever.
Exactly.
It's been tricky, but we've powered through, and things are coming together, and I think this whole time has kind of in a lot of ways it's shown people what is possible online, and how much you can do remotely, and I think that's been really positive.
Definitely, because I've heard, that a lot of people have kind of gone through, well, me included, where there's just been bits and bobs that I've had to work out technology wise that I've just been really afraid of before, and then I've literally had to get my head around it, because it's a matter of, well, I really want to do this, or I really want to be involved in this project, so I've got to get my head on and YouTube tutorial away.
YouTube tutorials are a godsend, I must admit. Like, and that's how I ended up setting this place up.
In your box. I love it.
Yeah, my little blue box. It's great.
It's cool. Do you feel claustrophobic?
No, it's so calming. I think because it's blue and it's soft.
Your blue box.
Yeah, it's this is my happy place now.
It's
great.
My new home. Amazing.
Okay, so there's another track on the EP that I really, really want to talk to you about. So I'm going to play a bit of Cheetah now. Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Seems more appealing when you know it's wrong. Runs in the family history, but Peter to be troublesome. Well, they tell me you're a cheetah, but my coats, I'm ready to go. It's too late for mistrusted, I guess I'm busted. My lips won't let me say no. I say pour me a margarita and let me justify some more. And we're as bad as each other, or something or other will probably soften the blow.
So what I really wanted to talk to you about with that is, like, there's this bit of like salsa-y Latin rhythm in there, like flamenco. That's it. And I love it. It sounds great to me. But just where did that come from?
It's strange, because I had a really once I'd started to get these lyrics together, because usually I'd write melody before I'd write the lyrics, and then I'd work it out that way. And this time I was completely backwards and inside out, and I had these words in my head, and I just really wanted it to have that vibe to it. God knows what I'd been listening to or what had been inspiring me at the time, but just something was in my head, and I was like, I was in a summer vibe. So that's kind of where it came from. And then the guitarist I was working with, Jack, started kind of playing this dung, 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 and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm after. So we just kind of built on that, really. And like I say, with this one, it was just me and the guitar, so it was just me and the acoustic guitar, and then I'd sent it over to Yoni, and he worked his absolute magic on it, and and that came out.
Great stuff. So you say, like, I always find this an interesting question. Do you normally start with lyrics or melody, and how does that kind of switch from song to song? Like, so could you just tell us a little bit about sort of your, I hate this word, but your process?
Well, to start with, I feel like without I bounce off working with people, writing with people. So Jack, my absolute oh, he's just a dream. I wouldn't have been able to do any of the go through any of the writing process that I did do if it wasn't for him, because I'd had ages where I didn't really do anything with my voice. I stopped singing for a while. I'd stopped writing, and I was going through just a bit of a patch where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm not sure whether this is what I want still, or whether I want to move on to something different. Because I don't know, we all get a bit despondent, don't we? Especially when it's something that we've kind of grown up doing, and then we feel like we hit a bit of a wall, or it's not quite going in the direction we want it to go. And I
think that's every other week for artists.
Yeah.
Like.
yeah, definitely. I know. I was trying to kind of play it down, like I was just having a bad day, but really I was having a bad year. So he picked me up, bless him, and just said, let's just have a jam. And he made it real kind of no pressure, let's just relax. And it was the best thing for me, really, because then let's just chill out and have a jam and have tea and biscuits. And then it ended up I think we wrote 25 songs later. And so really him just kind of sitting there chilling, playing an idea in his head on the guitar that he had, and then we would kind of develop it through that. And usually I'd just start singing some absolute rubbish along to it that wasn't really any. I have this weird thing where I get the melodies in my head and I don't actually know the words yet, so my mouth hasn't had time to form the words before my brain's made the melody up. So I end up singing stuff like "Guess I'm a tune, but not a tupu," like. Then the words go.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
How it sort of thought like it just starts with sounds and nonsense first, and then starts turning into lyrics. Yeah,
exactly. So that's my process. Sing a load of shit and then mold it all up later, and it's works.
I like it very much. And yeah, I think that's when we go through those rough patches, I think that is what you need, just someone to sort of come in and remind you that this is fun. Like, you do this because you enjoy it, take the pressure off, relax. And then the really good stuff comes out.
It does, because I always think that, especially in the mind, I think just if your mind's really busy and crowded, there's no space for the ideas to kind of flow in. And I think that's the important thing. I think the creative process, I think, allows you to be able to create the space in your mind to let it flow through. Because I think if you try too hard, if you sit down and go, I mean, the times I've been in a studio with a producer and they've gone, right, let's write the hit. Today we're writing a hit, and you freeze. Nothing comes out because you've got that all in your head pressure. Exactly. So so I think it's friends are just really important to have around you in that kind of situation, aren't they, to just remind you that it doesn't have to be so serious.
No, absolutely. Is that really something that you've had happen? Producers come in and say, today's the day for the hit.
Yeah, today's the day. We're gonna write the hit. And it's just, I mean, everyone has their own ways, I guess, of how they psych themselves up for a session or whatever. And I've had people just say, like, let's do it. Let's write the hit. Come on, this is the one. And the worst, I suppose, is when someone goes, right, it's your it's your last take. This is the one. You're gonna get it, and you're all over the shop.
Yeah.
You're singing in the wrong key. So it definitely keep the pressure off. Stay chilled, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we've got a couple more tracks from the EP. So I'd like to have a listen to Mr. Digg, if that's all right.
Okay,
tell us
awesome.
about that?
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty, so this is Mr. Digg.
He wore that stone look in his eyes. He wore them jeans roll low over Calvin Kleins. If looks could kill it, shoot you quicker than an AK-45. Son, you better stop Whoa, don't you load that gun, no, don't ya? You got all them guys playing this game. All the pretty women around here know his name. Body red hot sinner, I ain't been more. Can I get a piece of all that? Oh, don't you stop. Where's my decorum? God, no, won't ya? Hey, miss, don't be guilty where your manners at. Playing those ladies like a trick you just pulled out your hat. Show me where your money's at. I could use some more of that sweet, sweet life.
Yeah. So what I really like about that one is there's this really clear character coming through of Mr. Digg with his stony eyes and his Calvin Kleins. Like,
Yeah.
can you just tell us a little bit about this character? Like, who is he? Where did he come from?
Oh, he's in my mind, but I think a lot of women can relate. And I think actually what it is, this song is probably a mixture of a few ex-boyfriends and probably some kind of character that women that a woman might have in her mind. You know, I've spoke to so many girlfriends about their relationships or their experiences with guys, and some great, some awful, and I think this was just a mix of this Mr. Dig Yourself character that that came up and was like, right about me.
I love it. Yeah. No, it's really cool when you get a really sort of clear concept from that, and I think it definitely is relatable, and it's you know, it's so much more fun than just you know, having a song about oh, my shitty ex-boyfriend or my great ex-boyfriend or whatever. Like, you know, putting it into this sort of like character, and it conjures up these really beautiful images and stuff. I think it resonates so much more, and
it does. I think both ways as well. I should write a like sequel of Mrs. Dig herself. Mrs. Dig herself. I think that's on the agenda.
Go for it. Maybe on the new drum and bass style.
Yeah,
like
there we go. Yeah, Mrs. Dig herself.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed just listening to it again is like, where does this motif of guns throughout the album, like, where does this come from?
I was thinking this the other day. I was like, someone's gonna call me out on this soon because I've got loads of bullets and guns in these songs, and yeah, and actually, it's not until you kind of go back and listen to, because I wrote probably 10 or 12 songs as an album, and it turned out that I only ended up releasing an EP to start with, but I picked 4 of what I thought were quite different in style. Well, they had something to tie them all in together, but there was a bit of, you know, there's a kind of a bit more of a ballad one, there's a couple of upbeat ones, and then I realised actually that the two that I'd put on there had quite quite a strong theme around guns and bullets and fires. Don't ask. It's just somewhere in the dark depths of my mind. This is what comes out.
Well, that's cool.
What comes out when you sit and drink Tetley tea with drawstring tea bags, scoff a packet of biscuits, and sit with an old mate and write music.
Yeah. No, it's cool though. Like it definitely works with the themes of the album. I think it's very cool. It's a little bit dangerous, kind of like a little bit explosive kind of thing. Very nice. I was just curious how that sort of came about. Like,
where did it all come from?
All right, so we've got one more then, and this is My Walls, and if I'm right, this was released as a single, wasn't it?
Yes, and the first 2 were. Sorry, go on.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and how have they done as singles?
Yeah, all right. Do you know what? I still need lots more streams. So if anybody fancies, My Wall
Yeah.
Stream.
Hey,
Yeah.
right. Well, your
Yeah,
website's going to be
we're
in the
gonna plug.
description. Yeah, we'll see if we can. We'll get you some streams after this. I promise.
This would be so appreciated.
Alrighty. So yeah, here's a little sample then of My Walls.
Whoa, whoa. Another night in a line of fire. Straight into my hands you played a game. Wish I could be a better girl, but I'm more trouble than I'm worth. Ooh, boy, well, you know I'm sorry for this mess I make, but you know that in your arms only my walls can break.
So again, second line of fire. It keeps coming back.
Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Darkness.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I love that. It's a lot sort of like slower, a bit more. The words have left my head. Yeah, a lot more emotion. Yeah, less sort of like fiery. It feels a bit more sort of personal than not that I mean, you know, sure, all of it's personal, but yeah, just yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about where this came from? Right.
It's about being a bad girlfriend, and it's about kind of looking back. Not a bad girlfriend. I'm sure I've got my strong points. But it's about looking back on old times and old situations, and looking in hindsight and thinking, well, you know, I could have been better. And I suppose we don't really look back that much and have time to, at the time when we're in a bit of a fiery situation, or you know, where I am very emotional and I am very fiery, and that's where all the fire's coming from. And I think, yeah, at the time we don't really check ourselves enough when we're in amongst all those emotions, you know. And then it's only looking on the outside when we look back, or we have other experiences that lead us to kind of, I suppose, analyze ourselves and analyze how we behave. Yeah, and it's looking back on that really and writing about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? When you're in a situation, you can't kind of look at it objectively because you're in it. It's only afterwards when you've got chance to review. And I think that's something that that all art, and especially music, kind of gives us the opportunity to do as an artist. You get to look back on yourself and be quite introspective and things, and then that when people listen to it, or watch it or whatever, I think that helps them sort of you know, connect with that and look back on themselves. And yeah, and I mean, if you can't relate to looking back on yourself and wondering about mistakes, then you're doing something seriously wrong, aren't you?
Exactly. That's it. And I think it's it's good to be able to get it out into a song as well. And maybe I wouldn't have really particularly chosen to write about that. That was kind of one of those things that I didn't think, oh, I've got loads inside that I'd like to get out about this situation. I think sometimes just your subconscious is processing it all, and then you start, you start kind of airing it, I suppose, and trying to make sense of everything. And then a song comes out, which is always the nice thing about heartbreak, I think, is that the upside is that you get to write some good stuff.
Yeah. No, certainly gives you some fuel, doesn't it?
There's
And
your ammo, yeah. There she is
yeah.
again with the ammo.
Again. Mm. But yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, yeah, ultimately, like that's all art is, isn't it? It's
Mm.
self-expression, and you know, I think if you're doing it well, it becomes a way to sort of like, I don't want to say heal yourself. That's a bit
Yeah,
sort of
it does.
clumsy, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Yeah, it gives you a chance to to sort of get it out, put it down
Yeah.
in a way that's positive and productive.
Definitely.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like do you find it's difficult to kind of put yourself into your work like that, or does it sort of happen, or is it more recently, like, because I don't know, like I speak to younger musicians, and
Yeah.
they seem like a lot of the time they seem a bit more reluctant to sort of, you know, put themselves into a song
Out
or out on
there.
stage sometimes, like,
Mm.
but yeah, like how do you find that, like,
I
if
think
that's not
that
really a question, but
no, it's good. It's good because actually it makes you realize that I suppose the more you're in the well, the further you get down in the process um, of life, I suppose as well, the more you kind of there's stuff that I cared about, you know, when I was first starting out, that I think, why did I ever waste my time caring about that stuff? You know, why didn't I just get on with it? You know, I used to go through writing and songs, and I am still a perfectionist, which drives me bonkers, but I've learned to kind of embrace that side of it and realize also what to let go of. So I suppose what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is that, yeah, the older you get and the more you've kind of been at it, the more you realize that you learn to pick your battles, I think.
mm.
You're saying to me, I don't know if that was a question, and I'm thinking, I don't know if that was an answer. But
Well,
yeah,
I
I
think
think
yeah,
you do. You kind of you learn how to let go of stuff and know where your strengths are, and not to kind of lose sleep over the stuff that maybe hasn't happened, or maybe not spreading yourself too thin is another
yeah,
way of looking at it, I suppose. You know, back in the day, I just used to want to do everything and be everywhere, and I have to write for
yeah,
this person, and I have to do that, and I have to say yes to everything. And then what you realize is, if you say yes to everything, then completely you're completely mad.
yeah. And
um,
you overwhelm yourself, and you end up doing nothing. Is
that's
what
it.
I've found. Like,
Yeah, you
but,
do. You go backwards. It's counterproductive. Yeah.
mm, yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool actually, and yeah, really insightful. So I mean, you mentioned, you know, you feeling like you had to write for everyone, do this, that, the
Mm,
other. You've worked with a lot of people, haven't you?
yeah.
Like,
Oh, now
I
here
saw on.
comes the go on.
Here we go. Go on. The one that jumped out to me on your website was someone from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh
Is
my
that right?
gosh! Yeah. So Mr. Chad Smith.
Yeah.
So this was a while ago. Yeah, we had some auditions when I was at college to basically sing with Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wow.
So yeah, I played Californication with Chad Smith, and I would be
Oh.
an absolute bag of nerves now singing that on stage with him. But yeah, again, that's, I suppose, something looking back in hindsight, is that I actually just was able to go with it and let go, I suppose, a bit more on stage then than sometimes I feel now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hmm.
I feel very fortunate to be able to, yeah,
Yeah.
say that I
Definitely.
played on stage with him.
No, very cool. So, are there any other sort of like really? I'm not necessarily looking for a big name drop or anything, but
Yeah.
sort of any like really positive experiences that stick out in your mind. People that you really enjoyed working with, and could you tell us a little bit about why, what made working with them so great?
Do you know what? The first person that just springs to my mind, I'm not going to say Beyonce or anyone like that, but the person that I have connected with the most have just been my mates, and
Yeah.
I think, you know, I've been fortunate to work with some great characters, but I think that the top of your list will always be someone that you have that emotional connection with. Um, and I mean, I've worked with my brother on so many projects that have never kind of amounted to, you know, being released or anything grand like that. But actually, the process, I've stolen your word now. The process has just been the part that's actually the most important, and actually the most enjoyable. You know, they say that thing about the journey, not the destination.
Not the destination. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I think that that's really important, because it is true, isn't it? I think that the whole, if you don't enjoy getting to that point and getting to where you're going, then the rest is kind of pointless.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, yeah, there's always going to be that that sort of sense of achievement, that you know, big sort of warm fuzzy feeling when the record's out, the show's on, whatever it is. But you know, that doesn't stick around forever, and you know
Yeah.
and it's a much smaller amount of time than the actual process of making the thing. So you've got
Yes.
to, you have got to enjoy the process, and I think you've got to do it because you enjoy it. Otherwise,
Mm.
you end up coming across kind of faults and stagnant, and
Yeah,
and it is
exactly.
so
That's it.
important to
And I think there's another thing about also being able to kind of know, be able to be a bit vulnerable, I suppose, in front of the people that you're working around, and not have to kind of save face and come across as this, oh, I'm a professional, so I should be able to be all right all the time and, you know, do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes that's just not the case. You know, sometimes you have an off day. We all do.
yeah
Especially, you know, vocally, sometimes my voice just doesn't behave itself at all, and what I try to make it do, it's got other ideas. So sometimes, you know, you can be in a situation, just as I'm sure we all we all have these things where, you know, we feel kind of that we have to step up to these expectations, and sometimes we've just got to remind ourselves we're human beings. And
definitely.
yeah, I think the point is that that's why it's great to have friends that you work with that have your back and know when you're maybe not so, you know, you're not firing on all cylinders. Fire again.
But that's great. I think that's such a brilliant message. Yeah, love the people you work with, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So just before we finish off,
Yeah.
what's on the horizon for you? Do we have any live stuff maybe?
Well, I'm hoping so. You know, the thing that's well, the only thing I've got on the horizon at the moment is my mom's just said that she's having a ballroom event that she's putting on herself,
Okay.
and she wants me to play at it. So
Right.
that's an exciting start for the end of lockdown for me.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, live, it's also, you know, what can we say at the moment?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I'm hoping that there are a few things in the pipeline. Don't want to tempt fate. But I think at the moment I want to kind of focus on just getting some more releases out. So my energy's been going into that at the moment. And the live stuff will, I'm hoping, just flow back in as and when it can do. But I think it's also, you know, getting out and playing live is just, everybody's just itching, aren't they? Just
we're all kind of desperate for it.
desperate. So I can't wait to kind of get back in and do that first live gig. again, it's just going to be magic.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, the vibe is just going to be better than ever, because
Oh yeah.
I think people are just going to go crazy. I just can't imagine it. I saw something on Instagram the other day. They were doing a test. Did they do a test? I don't know if I
Yeah.
completely didn't get the memo. I don't know what this is about, so I need someone to enlighten me about it.
Is this?
Did they?
I think this was in Liverpool, right? They did.
Right, it might have been.
So yeah, like first they did like a big business conference where people could walk around with masks off and this, that, the other, and then they had like
Right.
a kind of mini festival.
Okay.
And I cannot think who played it now. It's gone out of my head, but
Yeah.
yeah. So they had like a I don't know, a few thousand people. It was the first thing where like you had to get a test before and after or whatever, but it was no
Okay.
masks, no distancing,
Right.
and they sort of
Ooh, scary.
want to test how it goes. So things are
Yeah.
moving, things are
Yeah.
getting there, and
Definitely.
yeah, man. I mean, I think that first live gig, you could get up on stage and just talk through "Happy Birthday," and
Yeah.
people would
I
go
know.
mental, like with
It's
that
so,
desperate for
but
it.
this is what I'm thinking, because it just makes you realize when you don't have it and when you haven't been performing, how much actually you value it, you know, and you just think, God, the amount of friends, even just on social posts and stuff, where I've seen musicians just go, oh my God, I'd literally, I can't, I never thought I'd miss gigging as much as I do. And I wonder if the nerves will come back again. I keep thinking, if when I get back on stage, am I going to forget all my words? Like, well, you know, and my mouth's going to dry up like when I was 10 years old and getting on stage for the first, you know, is it all going to go wrong?
No, I'm
But yeah,
sure
good.
it won't. All
I'm
right.
sure we'll
Well,
have fun.
yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, that seems like a good place to end.
To end,
But
yeah.
it has been an absolute pleasure. Your
Thank you
EP
so
is
much for
out,
having me.
new stuff coming. Hey, it's been
Yes,
great. It's been great. So,
amazing.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there then. So, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Take care and all the
All
best
right.
with everything that's coming up.
Thank you,
All right.
Milo. See you soon.
Bye.